Carabao Cup third round action is here, and with that, Stoke take on League Two Fleetwood Town. So, joining me for today's match preview is the one and only it's Ben from Cod's Vlogs. Ben, firstly, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you so much for having me on, and looking forward to having a chat about the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always the beauty of the cup. You never know what's going to happen. We might come back to this in a couple of days' time where Fleetwood have put 2 or 3 goals past us. I don't know. It could it could go either way. And knowing Stoke, I never know how to predict them. I must admit. But with that, of course, Fleetwood relegated into League Two and playing League Two football this season. How would you rate kind of Fleetwood start to this season?
Well, I was saying yesterday, Sam, we're 35 days into the season. We played 4 games, and that's in the league. That is because obviously we've had 3 cup games and lost one, in the kind of the Papa Johns or the Bristol Street Motors, and then 2 in the Carabao Cup against Championship and League One opposition. So in the league, we'd kind of won our first game, got a good point away at Notts County in the second one where we were 2-0 up, but 19% of possession. We dug in and we got a good point. And again, on that goes to Notts County or even draws against Notts County, we'll think that's a good point. Now they're a good side, and look, you can maybe come back to it at the end of the year going, just if we held on. The third game against Gillingham was disappointing. We lost Zet Medley, who's a big player for us. He snapped his Achilles, but we draw the game 0-0 and we don't play well in my eyes in an attacking sense. We dominate the game, but we just don't do enough in front of goal. We don't test the goalkeeper enough. And in the Wimbledon game, before the international break, that we have 3 call-ups, so we had our game off, and we lose 1-0. Maybe a couple of decisions went against us, but in terms of performance, we were poor. So I kind of came away with that group of fixtures thinking, right, we probably should have won 3
Hmm.
and potentially got a point from the other one. If you're looking at it, then you could say, oh, we could have lost at Notts, we could have lost at Wimbledon, Gillingham could have nicked it against us, a couple of good
Hmm.
chances. I think it's a fair reflection. I'd have taken 5 points from those first 4. And then you go and play Carlisle yesterday afternoon, and I thought, right, if we can win that, all of a sudden, if you lose that, you're 5 points from 5. It doesn't look too good. 8 points from 5, 1.6 points per game. And this is the early start of
Yeah.
getting results. The mindset switches. I know yesterday you lost and you've won 2 out of 5. Where if you won yesterday, you've all of a sudden you've won 3 out of 5, and you've only lost 2 in 5,
Yeah.
and you'll take that. So no, a delight with the start. The football we played yesterday was really good, good intensity, but overall, quite happy.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to mention that game against Carlisle yesterday, a 5 goal thriller, and of course, when it's a 5 goal thriller, you always want it to go your way, and it did. And you've got players that, you know what? I've watched the highlights of that game from yesterday, and I must admit, I think I'm getting his name right. Danny Mayer, is it Danny Mayer?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So his first goal that he scored yesterday, that footwork to get past the defenders and then get a shot away and score, I thought was superb. So coming into this game, obviously a total different affair
Yeah.
against a total different opposition, of course, for both Stoke and Fleetwood. Who's your kind of key players that coming into this game you think, you know what, could shine?
I think it changes relatively on the opposition. I think Brendan Wiredu, I'll always say, because he's a captain of the football club. He's stepped up. He's now nearing his 100th appearance for the football club. I think he'll play. He'll play every game that we want to win in, and
Mm.
realistically, that he's available for. He's cool on the ball. You signed Bosun Lawal this summer, and I'm sure his name will be mentioned at some point. But they kind of switched last season, where Brendan went to defence and Boston went into midfield, and that kind of worked for both parties.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say Brendan Wiredu. I'd also say Danny Mayer as well. That he hadn't scored in 43 previous games from an attacking midfielder, and he didn't look happy. He didn't look himself. That
Mm.
this is a guy that I think was won League Two Player of the Year at Bury and was unbelievable at Plymouth. He's experienced. He's 33. We've got a young squad. He sets the example, and when he gets into the box and he actually pulls the trigger, he will score goals. He will be effective and go get 15 goal comps this season as well. So uh, I'll go with Danny Mayer, from a slightly different point of view. But then our fullbacks as well are very vital to the way we play. In
Mm.
if it's a Ryan Broom, a Carl Johnson, a Phoenix Patterson, or a Mackenzie Hunt.
All kind of. I think that totally agree with what you're saying in terms of sometimes it does just like Stoke, and I'm a firm believer that we have got a lot of quality all over our pitch. And obviously, like yesterday, we didn't see all of it, but when they come together and depending on the game, sometimes it's superb to watch. So obviously, like I said, with your fullbacks, I think with Stokes, Eric Bocat is a superb signing, and obviously in games like this, hopefully, from obviously my point of view, I hope that they can shine. But one thing that I was quite surprised at is a player who's now Vale, of course, Stokes' rival. So I'm not going to touch on him too much. Is of course
Yeah.
Jaden Stockley, and I was looking at
Okay.
how Fleetwood did last season, and in terms of obviously who was their outlet, who was the one that was getting the goals, getting the impact. It was interesting to see that he was your kind of top goal scorer and up there
Yeah.
for the assists as well. Do you think that there's a hole that's missing from him, or do you think that there's still a real quality to get you the goals this season?
Yeah, there's a hole. Stockley leaves a football club, but also Promise on a Cherry leaves a football club as well. So all of a sudden you've lost two strikers, and I was thinking already last season that I wanted to bring another one in. Then I'm
Mm,
thinking, well, we're three short. We have brought in the likes of Meepo. We brought in Keane Harrett, who was also at Port Vale as well, did
yeah.
very well for them in League Two. So that we have brought in options there, but I don't think they are quite to the standard of a Jaden Stockley and a Promise of a Cherry. I'll be honest with you. But one thing about Jaden Stockley, yes, he scored a load of goals. I think up to Boxing Day, he scored one goal. And he went
Mm,
on a decent, I think he scored something like 8 goals, 4 assists in his last 19, 20 games, I'd like to say. And, he put himself about when Jaden Stockley wanted to play football. The issue is, I don't think he wanted to be at the football club. And
yeah.
he didn't play the last 3 or 4 games of the season. Was he injured? I'll never question a player's desire to play football, but I ask
Yeah.
myself, well, you're going to leave in the summer. Are you going to put everything into it? Are you going to want to
Mm,
play? I genuinely didn't see that in Jaden
yeah.
Stockley. And look, Port Vale have got him now. He'll do well for them if he's given the right kind of the treatment because they play the right way. They'll get balls into him. They'll get balls into the box. So that's what we're doing. We've kind of slightly adapted our play style, but we do
Mm,
miss that kind of physicality. We've got Ronan Coughlin up there who's brilliant, but Coughlin and Stockley together was a bit like a target man where Coughlin would knock it on for Stockley.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
we are missing his void a little bit, but in other ways, you can slightly adapt your play style now. Now we've got players that want to be here, and it feels a really good group this now, which is really good. That we might not have the quality of the players that you've just mentioned,
Mm,
but we've got players now that are coming into training every day that fight for each other, that are staying behind, whether it's playing a game of cards or playing a game of darts or having a coffee together or going off to have a game of golf together.
mm,
That's what you want. And if your squad is united, you could be a mid-table side or a poor side and be united and manage to get results. I think that, no disrespect, that look at Stoke in the Premier League, that
mm.
always written off. They were always written off, and Stoke of this, Stoke of this. But you have the unity to keep going and get points where nobody else would think you'd get them. And if you've got that in a football club, which I think we've got now to replace the quality, then you'll be a lot better for having better players and them not being happy.
Yeah, yeah, and I think with that as well, when you're touching on that, when you've got a team instead of obviously a group of individuals, you can grind out them results. There's a battle for each other, and especially in kind of League One, League Two, Championship. When you're building up them points, when you're getting 3 points and a point on the board, you shoot right up the table. And I think maybe with Fleetwood coming down to League Two, that bit of a refresh to then right, let's build something. So, like you said, it's really good to see that you feel there's a real good positivity within the squad. But someone that I know a lot of Stoke fans will want to hear about, and you did a superb job of interviewing him the other day. It was great to see Charlie Adam, the gaffer, being interviewed by you. In terms of him, he obviously came in December. Obviously, didn't do enough or wasn't able to get over the line in terms of keeping Fleetwood in League One football. But in terms of this season, how is Charlie doing? And in terms of how do you think he's going to do this season in charge of Fleetwood?
he's a top man. He's
Yeah.
a footballing guy, and he sets standards.
Mm.
And he's very close with Mark Hughes, Sparky, and you can see he's been managed by him. He's very regimental. He's very not stand by your beds, but he's very much, well, you come into training, this job's got to mean something to you.
Yeah.
You're going to outrun them, outfight them, and you're going to want to come and play for me. And it's the little things he does. And I only spoke to him for probably an hour, and
Mm.
I'm like, I'd love to play for you. I'd run through brick walls for you. I don't think I'd get the call up like. I don't think I've got as good as left foot as Charlie. I can put it that way. But he speaks very well. And
Mm.
I'll be honest with you, at first I thought, Charlie, had him in a relegation battle. Is that what we
Mm.
need right now? After 6 games, bear in mind we lost the first 4, I
Yeah.
was like, he's exactly what this football club need. Now, he got rid of the players that didn't want to be here.
Mm.
There was 4 or 5 that went in January, and I would probably say 4 or 5 went in the summer again.
Mm.
And he brought in players that he knew, he trusted, or players that would adapt to the football club. And it's little things like
Yeah.
this: jumping on a Zoom call and seeing if you're the right person. How do you speak? Do you look at him
Mm.
in the eyes? Are you sat up straight? You're not leaning on a
Mm.
sofa? Are you being
Mm.
professional? Are you listening to what he's saying? And I really like that about him. And yes, he lost his first 4 games of the season, but with players that don't want to be here, that aren't playing football, I think Pep Guardiola could have come in last year and he wouldn't have kept us up. I think when he came in, even with the first 4 defeats, I think he only lost maybe 3 or 4 games after that, and they
Mm.
were like the Cheltenham one was a hard one. Oxford away, he won promotion. Bolton. Sorry, I think we lost to Peterborough, who got to the playoff semi-finals, where a couple of penalty misses. Could have won that game 3 or 4-0
Yeah.
easily as well. And the teams we were losing to were good sides relatively, and Cheltenham. So this season, he's freshened things up. There's a new play style. It's high press. It's high energy. It's looking to dominate and use your teammates. And he's about family. He's about a culture, and he's about building something. So I love everything about what's been happening so far. We might not get the results every week, but you can really feel something in the air that something's building.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? That is really great to hear because obviously, of course, being your gaffer, but also someone that I think a lot of Stoke fans will agree is someone that wore a Stoke shirt with pride and scored quite a number of stunning goals for us. So it is really good to see that he's doing well, and of course, it'll be really nice to see him back at the Stoke ground. So finally, from me, and in terms of, I do this every week and try to predict the scoreline, but like even the Oxford game, I was miles off. It's the beauty of the cup. It's Carabao Cup third round. You've beat West Brom, you beat Rotherham, both at home. Now an away fixture. What
Yeah.
I haven't asked you this before, so obviously it's totally off the bat. What is
Yeah.
your score predictions?
It's tough coming away from home.
Yeah.
Stoke, should be a difficult place to go to. And unfortunately, over recent years, it's not been quite that same effect. And some teams have maybe gone to Stoke and won easily than they would usually would, and that
Mm.
shouldn't happen. I do think, though, you're on a journey like us. I think I really like Shuey. I think he's a top guy, and if you get behind him long term, he'll get results, and he'll get poor ones as well, but he'll get good ones.
Yeah.
The cup, I think there'll be changes from both sides, and
Yeah.
you'll make 3 or 4 changes. Look, your aim is to finish as high up in that division as you can. The
Mm.
championship is brutal; it really is. And realistically, you'd love a cup draw, but for us, there's more incentive to go and get a big club away because you've done it numerous times and deservedly
Mm.
so. I think it'll be close. I think you'll pip us, I'll be honest with you. But if we can say take a 2-1, I think
Mm.
that's what it was last time we played in this competition as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
from memory as well. So I think you'll just about pip us. But no, looking forward to coming. I think we've already had a good relationship with certain loan players over the
Mm.
last few years as well. I think Harry Suter was the cream of the creme and has gone on to have a decent little career for himself so far. So yeah, looking forward to it. And what are you thinking? What's your prediction?
I see it's a tough one because I haven't actually wrote it down. I just put the question in and I thought, you know what, I'll fire it to Ben first and then I'll see what to go for. But I I mean you've won 2-1 against West Brom and Rotherham. albeit of course a West Brom side that had changes, but at the end of the day, there's still quality in that West Brom side that you managed
Yeah.
to beat. So I probably am going to go for, like you said, obviously you obviously would like Fleetwood to edge you, but I think Stoke, that home factor maybe, and
Yeah.
you being away from home, maybe it's a 1-0, and it's maybe not the most amazing game, doesn't have loads in it. And that's what I would have said about the Oxford game when Stoke played them yesterday. There wasn't too much in it, not loads and loads of chances, but Oxford being at home got over the line. I think that's going to be the same with Stoke. I think we just had that slight bit of quality. Maybe it's off the bench, and obviously we'll rest a few players and bring them on for the last half an hour. But for me, I'm going to go for a 1-0.
Well, Stoke fans, as always, on this match preview, which I hope you're enjoying, we have the starting 11 predictions. And, well, at the moment, you would have seen yesterday's video. Well, hopefully you don't have to. But, of course, Schumacher's departed the club, so obviously I've just done a video on that. But I did do the starting 11 predictions before, obviously, even knowing that he was going to be leaving. I'm still a bit like, oh, well, I didn't see that coming at all. But I am going to just predict the team. I think, obviously, in the last 2 times in the Cup, we've made quite a few changes, and of course it worked. We got 5 goals against Borough, so will we be able to have another goal fest? I don't think so. I think we have to respect Fleetwood, and of course, as Ben said, you know what, they are a good team, and I think they'll look to obviously be in contention to get back up to League One this season. So with that, talking through, of course, the team that I'm going to go for, I think Jack Bonham will come back in between the sticks, of course, was on the bench against Oxford, and of course looks like he's recovered from his wrist injury. And then the back four, it's one of them where you've got Stevens and Rose that were mentioned to be coming back, but weren't on the bench against Oxford. So would that have, for me, if they were on the bench, I would have then said, oh, they'll come into the team. But with them not being on the bench, it's kind of made me go, oh, I don't know now. I'm not 100% with who it's going to be. So I think it's going to go Bocat and Shamadou as your fullbacks. I think obviously, yes, we've got the game against Hull on Friday, but is there anyone else that obviously could play there? Sorry. So obviously you got Gooch, who looks like he could be out for a long-term injury. Stevens wasn't involved on the bench, against Oxford. So I don't think, unless I'm ignoring someone, which I do apologise, I can't think of anyone that will play there. So that they'll keep the roles and could be really key to us having our freedom in the game. Then go for a different back two in terms of the 2 centre-halves. I'll go for Dixon and Phillips. And I do think that obviously the game against Hull on Friday will have a big impact on that. And I think we'll see Phillips and Dixon start the game, and maybe Phillips will be replaced by Wilmot on the kind of 60-minute mark, and that might be an indication to who's playing on Friday. But at the end of the day, there's different people in charge. Of course, Shawcross and Alex Morris. So could they have an impact on obviously who they want to bring in? But I do think that game against Hull in the league will have an impact on this starting 11. Midfield-wise, I think Tatsuki Seko will make his debut for the club. I think Thompson will join him, of course. I think he had a little bit of a knock or something like a bit of an injury that he got from, I think it was the Plymouth game, which obviously saw him, or the game before that, that obviously saw him out for that Plymouth game. I think he'll come back into the side, of course, came on, was it the 74th minute, something like that, against Oxford. So I think he'll start and maybe get replaced as well, which could be an indication to him starting against Hull as well. I think Andrew Moran, who of course was in international duty, I think he'll slot in that 10 role. Either side of him, I'll go for Kumas on the left, and I think obviously Milja Manouf has been a shining light this season. He really has. He's a great player, stunning young lad who you know what, his attitude's been top notch, and I think that, you know what, we need to be careful with how much we play him, and obviously everyone would love to play our best 11 every single week, but you obviously get injured and then you go, oh sugar, why do we play him so much? But he did also play for the Netherlands in that kind of, was it under 21, something like that. He did play for them as well, and then played quite a few full games this season, so, or majority of games this season. So I think for this game, and of course with the Hull game being there, I think he'll be dropped in terms of brought to the bench. And then I think Tescal will be moving to the right. I think move to the right. Sorry, great English from me. Move to the right. Obviously, we've not got a huge number of wingers that could replace them. Obviously, I'm not too sure what's going on with Vidigal. Will he come into the side? Will, obviously, Schumacher not being there, will he come to the side? I don't know. We obviously don't know what's happened behind closed doors with him, but I don't know. I've not got a Scooby, so I think Tesco will come in on the right, and then leading the line. I think Cannon will be replaced, so that obviously he starts against Hull, and I think Ennis will obviously be the one that replaces him. So with that, it's obviously quite a few changes. Maybe we won't make too many changes, but the game on against Hull is going to be a big one.
But I know I said finally, and it's the last question. I do apologise.
Don't you worry, mate. Ask as many as you want.
You've already spoke about players that have played for both Stoke and Fleetwood, and we've mentioned his name already. A player that's yet to start for Stoke, but I think is going to be very promising, and I hope has a real good career in the red and white stripes. It is, of course, Bosun Lawal. Tell me, and of course, the Stoke fans watching, what can we expect from him?
A good pro, a good young pro that wants to learn and get better. You know, he got better every game he played in the Fleet, which at the first 3 months I was thinking, I'm not sure. You know, played as a centre half, and Charlie Adam actually watched him in an under-21s game, I believe, as well, and he saw him driving out in the way he was in midfield, and he thought, okay, obviously gets a Fleetwood job, and he thinks, right. And I remember after the second game, I was thinking, what is Charlie Adam doing? I thought, clueless. I thought after about a game and a half, I thought, tell you what, this could be. He knows his onions. This guy. I can see he's played in the Premier League and worked under good managers. What do I know? And he's strong on the ball. He gets the ball and he just drives. And he's one of those players that you just physically, he's like just an absolute brick. You just can't turn him.
Yeah.
And he looks to power through. And the argument will be, does he look good in a poor team? It wasn't that at all. You know, he was our best player, and he had an eye for a goal. He could shoot. The power he could get on, you know, from the laces of his boots was unbelievable as well. He could pass with the ball. You know, strong, box to box, can do things in your box, but also hurt the others in their box as well. You're getting a good young player, and I just hope you utilise him to the best of his ability. And if you do that, you'll get a good player.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. You mentioned how obviously Charlie Adam moved him to obviously more advanced into a kind of a number 6 in a way, from obviously being a centre half. I think it's one of them where Stoke, they've lost Josh Laron, they've lost Lewis Baker. They were two midfielders that had quality but weren't always as consistent as Schumacher would have liked. So I think it is obviously time will tell when obviously he gets back from his injury. And I think there's someone put a compilation out of his time at Fleetwood in his kind of best moments in a sense. And he just looks like such a powerful player, such a strong player, and a player that, you know, I think could be a real fan favourite, I must admit. And like you said, at Fleetwood was one of your top players. So with you saying that, I'm quite kind of excited to see him in the Stoke top. So there we have it then. Thank you so much for coming on, Ben.
No problem.
Of course, Carabao Cup 3rd round. I don't honestly with Stoke, I'd love us to obviously advance to the 4th round, but there is no chance I'm going to underestimate Fleetwood and say that we're going to put 5 goals past you like we did against Borough. I think it'll be a lot tighter, I must admit. So thank you, Ben. Thank you.
No problem, mate. Thank you for having me on.
So yeah, there we have it then, guys. Make sure you go and check out Cod's vlogs as well as of course the podcast that Ben does, where he's interviewed Charlie Adam. I think you've put out one recently, wasn't it?
Yes, with the captain and the striker. So Brendan Woody and Ronan Coughlin there. Hopefully our 2 goal scorers on Tuesday night.
We'll have to see, but top work from Ben. Make sure you check him out. But until then, until tomorrow, in all fairness, in terms of when this will be out, tomorrow night, 7:30, Stoke versus Fleetwood. Who's going to make it to Carabao Cup 4th round? We'll have to see. But until then, see you guys next time.